All right, here we go. Great to be with you. Breakthrough Challenge 2021. I'm so pumped to get started with day one. Super pumped. How you all doing? Got to check to make sure all the tech is working here. I see Sol, good to have you here. Paul, what's up? Hey, the team. And Patrick, good to have you joining us. Excited to start. Awesome, Patrick. Great to have you here. And it looks like some of you guys have found this live. As you might have known, if we've been following the pre-challenge, there have been some issues with my profile and Facebook. So I'm glad you guys are on here. So also, hi to anyone watching on replay at some point. Great to have you join us. You can type any comment in here at any time while this is still up on Facebook, and we will get notified and I will see your comment. So continue to comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm in Taipei, Taiwan right now, and I am pumped to get you started on day one of 5. And this is all about you and your breakthroughs. This has been quite a tumultuous year and a half, 2 years. These past 2 years have been quite unpredictable, a lot of uncertainty, and things are constantly changing. And it's been hard for people to focus on their own growth or their own goals because it's hard to plan, even in the short term. It's hard to plan even for getting a flight and not knowing whether you'll be able to land or not, or whether they'll let you leave internationally on the airport or whatnot. So I get it. I have been also experiencing the same things. We're all human here. And I need this breakthrough challenge for myself every time we do it, as much as the rest of you. We all reach this point of growth where we have a spurt of growth, which is awesome. And we're going to do that right here together. And then inevitably, it's just part of our biological life, how things work. We naturally hit a plateau because that rate of growth, if we kept doing that, would just exhaust us. We'd burn out, we'd just die. But we have that intense amount of growth. And then naturally what happens is we plateau. And then the problem that many people face is that after the plateau, they dip. And then they don't know how to get back out. And often many people, they have that growth, or if they have it at all, that's already putting them in the minority of people, because a lot of people don't have much growth unless they're forced to by school. When school finishes, I think like 50% or more of people don't actually grow personally. They think that once they hit adulthood, that's it for their growth. You might know people like that. But for you, being here live with us, committing to your own breakthroughs means you have committed to your growth. So you're already in the top half, at least, of humanity. And you might have experienced growth in your life that was intense. In a pretty short amount of time, you experience this great growth. And then you naturally have a plateau. And this is often a time for your body and your mind to recover, to regroup for the next bout of growth. But what happens inevitably is most people don't know how to get that growth back. It was sort of by accident or coincidental. And what happens naturally is they dip. And even worse is they dip and then they keep dipping and they actually go below the level that they started at. And you might see this with people or have experienced it yourself, maybe when it comes to health and fitness, or maybe it was when you were trying to kick a habit, maybe some addiction, smoking, drinking, porn, whatever it might be. And you start off and you're getting some results through kind of willpower and discipline. And then you start to level off and then you dip, you make a slight mistake or just naturally things start to go backwards. And then it goes so far down that you're worse off than when you started. And then what's most dangerous about that is that you've now anchored negative growth or negativity to growth. Negativity, negative consequence to a growth experience. And because you don't know how to get out of it, it becomes an area, an issue where now you don't even want to grow anymore because you're like, screw it. What's the point? I'll just end up in the same position or worse than when I started. So then you just don't even bother growing. And have you ever known somebody like that? Maybe you've experienced something like that. And I know a lot of people around the world, they've been disappointed over and over. Maybe it's from when the governments first told you the lockdown will be over in 2 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it was. And then it just kept going on and on and on. And you think, screw this, what's the point? And many people experience growth that way, where they don't have this consistent growth. And because it's not consistent, they'd rather even take less growth, but consistent over time, because it's not this yo-yoing effect that they're unfortunately not embracing. So then they can't actually grow in the long run. So they just rather not grow at all. Have you ever been in that situation? Because what happens is if you get so discouraged, that you don't even bother growing anymore. You just want to stay in bed all day, or when the weekend comes, and instead of investing in yourself beyond your day job and just investing in your own growth, your own happiness, your own fulfillment, or making a life for yourself that you really enjoy and are proud of. And instead of that, because it's so much work, and after you put in all this work, you just go backwards into a dip anyway, what's the point? That you just sort of pull the covers over your head and you're just like, screw it. I'm just going to sleep in, and then I'm going to play video games, and I'm not even very good at video games. And I'm just going to play them endlessly, and then I'll watch some porn, and then the day's gone. Have you ever been in that situation where you just go on endlessly without any growth? And then at the end of that, you look back at all that time, you have nothing to show for it. And hopefully, because you're on this breakthrough challenge with us, that is not you, or maybe it was you up until yesterday or today, and it will not be you anymore, because we will be leading us together. Us will be leading us through this challenge together. Okay, so that's what this is all about. In case you don't know who I am, I don't know how would you be on here without knowing, but just in case, I'm David Tian, and for over now the past 15 years, I've been helping hundreds of thousands of people in over 87 countries attain success, happiness, and fulfillment in life and love. And right now in the Breakthrough Challenge group, we have over 200 gentlemen in the group, and I just want to honor them here. Hey, Ronnie, good to have you here from Copenhagen. Paul joining us from the Philippines. Awesome. Great to see you guys. Thanks for all the hearts as well, guys. And just keep putting in here where you're from and how you're doing. And I just want to honor all the guys who've joined the Breakthrough Challenge group. The challenge itself will be in that group. So at the end of this, or towards the end, I'll be walking you through the action step. And then that will be the challenge inside the group. So then we will be awarding a bonus prize at the end of today's training to the top 2 contributors for challenge number 1, which is already underway, has already happened, and in fact, technically has already wrapped up, and we'll be awarding the top 2 contributors for that. If you just joined the Breakthrough Challenge group, by the way, don't worry about that. Just do the live video intro anyway. That's part of just getting you warmed up. It's for your own good, and it'll give you a practice for when you do the rest of the challenges, because they're all going to require you to do that step of going live anyway. Okay, so that's what's coming up today. Over the next 5 days, every day, or well, this is the first day. So over the next 4 days, every day at the same time, I'll be going live here, and I'll be leading you through what I call the 5 phases. And today we're going to be going through the whole kind of idea of what phases are in life. And then I'll lead you through phase 1 and getting out of it and growing out of phase 1. It's really important to understand these phases, because so many people get stuck at these different levels and not realizing that they're stuck at this level because they don't realize that there's a whole other dimension, and they don't know how to get to that next dimension. But they keep spinning their wheels, doing the same thing that got them to that point. But the thing that got you to that point isn't what's going to get you to the next phase. Okay, so if you just keep doing the thing that got you through that phase, it won't take you to the next phase. There's a whole other, it's like a huge category shift at each major phase in your life. And I've identified 5 major phases in life if you want to experience continual growth, and that's what it's all about. And a big part of the reason why we're focusing on continual growth is because without growth, it's going to be very hard for you to experience lasting happiness or fulfillment. So growth is a part of what creates happiness and fulfillment over the long term. And in fact, even just progress in and of itself will be joyful. It itself will be something that, like I was saying earlier, many people would prefer to have growth incrementally, because then it'll take care of the uncertainty. They'll feel like, oh, even though I only gained $1 today, I know that I've gained $1, versus an example of 100 days of zero growth, and suddenly, boom, you make 1,000, right? Because those 100 days, or those 99 days of nothing, it's really hard for people to hold the course. And the unfortunate thing about life, about our lives, biological lives, our minds, how the universe works, is that it works in spurts, it works in phases. And this means that many people end up giving up just before they're about to have an amazing breakthrough. And they give up because they can't deal with the uncertainty. So today we're really going to focus on this theme of noticing the way that life divvies out, the way that life parses out when and to what degree growth happens. It's very rare in the long run for growth to happen consistently and incrementally and visibly. Very often what's happening is there might be growth going on in your unconscious mind or underneath the surface, but you're not aware of it. And on the surface, all you see are these spurts. And your growth, when it's dependent on any kind of external conditions, it's almost always going to be in very concentrated bursts. And then there's going to be a plateau. And if you don't know how to manage that plateau and the dip, you're going to give up and you're going to end up worse off than when you started. And it's very likely and very rational, if that's what your experience is, to not even bother putting in the effort to grow, because you're thinking to yourself, I worked so hard before and I just ended up at the same place I did last time, like many people experience around New Year's, when they all make these New Year's resolutions to lose X amount of weight in January and February up to February 14th, Valentine's Day. They're working out really hard. The gyms are packed. Well, this is before the pandemic. Gyms are packed right up till February 14th. And then end of February, start of March, you start to see numbers dwindle again at the gym. And very likely what happened to all those people who put in tons of effort for those 6 weeks is they gained it all back in a weekend or a week. And then they say, what's the point? Right. And now they're locked into some kind of gym membership. And that's how big box gyms make money. Anyway, you don't want that to be you, where you give up on your growth because you don't know how to approach it the right way. You don't know even how to see it the right way. And it's very natural if that's been you. It's been me too in the past. And in all of these different areas of your life, you're going to have to actually adopt this mindset. So it's one thing to figure it out, growth or success in one area. It's another thing to be able to translate that to other areas and to be able to translate that to your entire life. That itself is a challenge, to be able to see the principles that apply across all of these different domains that are very important for your life, whether it's your relationships, whether it's dating, whether it's success with women, that I know many of you are concerned about. That's how you probably found me in the first place, or whether it has to do with your career, your professional life, or maybe it's your social life, or maybe it's your relationship with your children or your family, growing your family. In all of these areas that are really important to human beings, to our lives, there are the same principles for success. But if you don't know what these principles are, if you don't know how to apply them in these different domains, then you're always going to run up to against the same problem of no matter what type of growth you have, you will inevitably hit a plateau, and then you're going to hit a dip that comes out of that plateau. This is inevitable. This is a natural part of life. And then if you don't know how to get out of that dip, you're not going to be able to make it to the next level. You're not going to be able to break through again to the higher level. And eventually, when you figure this out, when you do what we're doing here this week, and you learn to apply that across lots of different domains in your life, you'll discover that what happens over the long term, over months and years, is when you look back at the amount of growth you've had, you'll see that what now counts for you as a dip is even higher in terms of results and success than the peak that you had many breakthroughs before. So it's going to be the squiggly line, but it's moving upwards if you have figured out, what you're doing is what we're going to be doing this week, if you apply that consistently in these different areas of your life. So that's what this whole challenge is about, starting you off on the big picture of why it matters so much to understand this concept of growth, then plateau, then dip, and how so many people anchor negativity to growth, and then they don't even bother with growth at all. They'd rather just distract themselves with video games or just give up and be lazy in bed. So that don't let that be you. And whether it's with me or anyone else, commit to your growth. The fact that you're watching this still right now means that you're already in the minority in the world. So pat yourself on the back for being there and already busting through the limitations that society and your natural peers, the school system, sets on you for your own growth, taking the initiative for your own growth for the rest of your life. Because so many of us learn that the only things where we are brainwashed into thinking that the only things that are important to learn in life are the things that are taught in school. And the only way to learn are the ways that school teaches us. This sort of rote learning or kind of passive learning with textbooks and just listening to lectures and things like that, and being still in your seat in the classroom, that kind of stuff. And that's really has very little to do with learning and often gets in the way of true learning and of true growth. And as an adult now, you might have experienced this. And I know a lot of people, a lot of dudes who come out of university or grad school and they're starting their first job. And after a few years in that job, they kind of stagnate because they're not taking into their own hands the responsibility for their own growth. You are not like that. The fact that you're still watching this means that you understand that and that you have taken this into your own hands. And whether it's with me or with someone else, Get serious about that growth for yourself. Invest in yourself in this way, and it will pay off for the rest of your life. Because as long as you're alive, it will pay off. Okay. So this is very important that you understand how growth works and how breakthroughs work. Okay. So just in case that's not super clear, what a breakthrough is different from incremental growth. Incremental growth, again, might happen in minor areas of your life, but in all of the major areas of your life, if you look back at the type of, if you've had any significant growth or progress in any particular area, you'll notice that there was a burst of energy and a burst of growth. And then there was a kind of maintenance, right? So you might have, for myself, I was looking back on an area that I could share with you that would be immediately understandable. And I was working out, like normal gym type of stuff that dudes do all the way through my 20s. I just kind of looked at what everyone else was doing, and I was just kind of doing the same thing. I went online and found a few things, but I was just basically doing my own workout, I guess. And I got almost no results for all through my 20s and my teens. And it wasn't until I hired a private trainer at a gym in Beijing, because I could afford it back then, because it was a lot cheaper in Beijing back then, that I actually realized what a real workout was like. And he busted my ass, and I was so sore that I could barely lift the water cup after, one of our first weeks of training. And I finally discovered in that, I think it was a period of 3 months, that I got like actual real results, bulking up, getting the beginnings of a six-pack. And then after that, I moved, and for a long time, it was just maintaining the same level until I did P90X, and I got a lot leaner, and the six pack really shone. But then it was 90 days, P90X, right? And then it was 2 years of maintenance of that. Like maybe there was a growth of like 1 kg, what is that? 2.2 pounds of muscle per year. And it was just maintenance. And then luckily, because by that point, I understood the principles of growth, which we're going to cover here, that plateau was already something that I was accepting. I just wanted to maintain for a while. And when I hit the dips, I knew how to change things up and apply these principles that we're covering here to be able to prepare for the next breakthrough. So a breakthrough is always precipitated by a dip. A breakthrough is always preceded by a dip. Okay, so if you don't know how to make it through the dips, you're never going to get that breakthrough. So I prepared a slide to show this to you visually instead of me doing this with my hands. And let me just share that with you. Great to see you guys. Let us know who's tuning in and where you're tuning in from. Just so you know, I think what we found is my profile here. It has a shadow ban by this wonderful company called Facebook. So if you could, any kind of engagement you could give, what we call make some Facebook noise, helps tell Facebook that their shadow ban is bullshit and that you actually want to see this, and then Facebook will show it to other people as well. So thanks for that. Oh, thanks team for that. Okay, so just letting you guys know. But I love the engagement so far, and I love all the people who are on here. Now let me show the slide that I prepared. And where is it? Aha. Okay, so this is from Keynote. This is a little bit tricky. I can't just hit play. I have to do enter full screen. Oh, there it is. There's okay. Sorry about this. And then I can hit play. Okay, so here we go. Now the first thing is what's called a skill achievement graph, and this idea of plateaus here. So can you see my cursor? I don't think you can. So there is the growth represented here. There isn't much of a plateau on this diagram, unfortunately, but you can imagine instead of just that peak, there's a kind of straight line for a little while, and then there's a dip. That's inevitable. So you've got to learn how to manage that. And then there's that, the next breakthrough will take you again to growth. There's always a dip before the growth. This is just how life works. This is how the universe, the natural universe works. So if you don't know how to manage the dip and keep going through that, you're just going to keep dipping. And if you can't get out, if you don't know how to get out of the dip, you're just going to go and sink below your starting point. And this is like half the world. And then they just give up and they don't grow as adults. They don't grow unless their boss forces them on some like professional development thing, and they might grow a little bit, right? But most people don't grow because they don't know how to grow. They were only forced. They were only growing because they were forced to by school or something. But that is a recipe for a disastrous life. So you're not going to do that because you're watching this right now. So kudos to you. Congrats to you for committing to your growth. So notice then the point being on this particular graph, I want to show that over the long run, if you have these breakthroughs and you look back on your earlier phases of life, your lowest lows will be now higher than your highest highs back then. There's also another image I was thinking about showing. It's a dude doing pull-ups, and I think the caption underneath it was, keep working until one day your warm-up will be what used to be your best, or something like that. Anyway, and for those who've persisted through growth and through these plateaus and dips, you know how awesome that is when you look back on it. But in the moment, you're just absorbed and immersed in the activity, and in whatever phase you happen to be in, and in whatever stage you happen to be in, whether that's the maintenance plateau or whether that's the dip, and you're going to need to know how to navigate through that. Okay, so the biggest part of it is actually understanding the nature of your emotions. But before I get into that, I wanted to share really quickly. Let me just back out of this so you can see my face here. Oh, wait. Okay, how do I get out of this? Escape. Okay. Back here. Okay. So I wanted to explain or illustrate the point really quickly with the story of my client, Howard. So when Howard came to us, he was a really tough case. This was several years ago. Yes, more than several years ago, when I was first experimenting with a therapeutic approach to dating coaching, dating skills training. And in the old days, it was more of a common sense method of teaching. Like, first thing we do is a kind of makeover process. So we're cleaning up the exterior, and then we're helping him develop certain skills, and we practice those and drill those, and then you go out into real life situations, and then you sort of coach the person through that. All right, so that's the standard way to approach dating skills training, and that's the sort of thing you'll find on YouTube or anywhere else where you're getting tips, and then it's just about applying the tips. I've done many podcast episodes on the downsides or just how difficult all of that type of approach is. So I was experimenting with a much better approach, but it was the beginning of it and I call it now a therapeutic approach, where we're actually helping the person understand the resistances inside and removing those blockages to allow his powerful true self to come out. Now, this was just at the beginning, so Howard was completely not presentable. We had, even if we did a makeover, just that, like, he was really short. He had a kind of facial kind of deformity. He had a lisp. He had all kinds of issues that were not going to be easily improved or quickly improved. And so this was a perfect candidate to try to just go full in on the therapeutic approach. We didn't even bother with a makeover. So we went full in on this therapeutic approach that I'll be leading you through part of it, giving you a taste of it over these next 5 days. And what was amazing was he was a socially awkward, really shy, major lisp. He was really short, had this kind of deformity, and he had this really awkward air about him that kind of came off many cases as creepy, just because he'd laugh at random times and just things like that. And what we did was we did the therapeutic approach with him. So the first few weeks of this, there was absolutely no growth in terms, like, visible growth. He wasn't going out clubbing or bar hopping or even on dates or anything like that. It was just him going deep into his emotions, like closing his eyes, sensing into his body, finding out these resistances, etc. We'll be walking through that process to give you a taste of it over the next 5 days. And at the end of several weeks of this sort of process, what happened was actually really incredible. So we were working with him in person in his home country. And then I flew out, came back about 6 weeks later. And the rest of the process was still happening online and through our recorded courses. And when we hooked up again, it was like night and day. Suddenly, those awkward laughter, those like awkward times, a socially awkward person, now he owned it because he had come to the point where he was very comfortable and integrated those parts of himself that were nervous and that were holding fear and shame. And he had gone through the therapeutic process with those. And now they had become valuable parts of him. And as a result, he also unlocked these childlike attractive qualities of spontaneity, of curiosity, of an adventurousness, of a kind of easygoing nature, where if you spill something, you just kind of laugh at it. And instead of being overwhelmed by trying to look perfect or be perceived and get as somebody or be getting respect from others, he was a lot more comfortable in his own skin. And he had kind of overcorrected a little bit and was very energetic. And now his inner child parts were just going crazy. Like they were just coming out in ways that were where he was very proud of them. And it was infectious. It was amazing because on the outside, you wouldn't think a guy like this could be attractive, sexually attractive, or just would even have a lot of friends. But because he was so comfortable in his own skin, because he was giving love to those parts of himself that before he was ashamed of, because of that, he was able to be very comfortable just expressing himself however he was, whatever he thought, however he felt, he was just expressing it. And it was infectious because people are most attracted to what feelings they get when they're with you. This is a big misinterpretation, big misunderstanding among men who want to get better with women. They think you need to have looks or status or money or a six-pack or a nice car or something like that. All of those things are on the outside. And in every case, you can think of a counterexample. I can think of easily many counterexamples of a man who had one or all of those things, but who was inside psychologically not right. And it just creeped girls out. And you can imagine, maybe you've seen an example of the opposite, where there was a guy who didn't have much money, wasn't particularly good looking. Maybe he was even fat. And what else was there? He didn't have particularly high status or anything, but he was just comfortable in his own skin, and he made you laugh. And he was interested in you, and he was present when he was with you. And he actually made you feel comfortable and at ease and having fun. And this amazing thing is, when girls go out on dates, they're not looking for a guy who's rich, because just him being rich doesn't make them feel good. What it does is it goes ching ching. If they're like users, they'll be like, oh, a guy I can get to buy me a Prada bag, right? That's not sexual attraction. That's userness. That's like manipulation. That's not sexual attraction. She's seeing you as a mark, right? That's not sexual attraction. What they actually want to do on the date is have fun. That's why you go on dates, right? You have fun. And imagine that you can just give them that feeling of fun and not need all of this other superficial stuff that gets in the way, actually. And what actually attraction is an emotion. And you can trigger this emotion by just triggering the emotions that are around it, having fun, adventure, spontaneity, etc. And what was amazing was, because Howard had come to love himself, he was able to, in this infectious way, this kind of emotional contagion way, he was able to transfer these emotions to those people around him. And it was infectious even for me. Like I might, in some situations, I'm coming to the bar or whatever, kind of harried because it just flew in or whatever. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a few more hours to unwind, but okay, I'm on the clock. I'm going to do some work with this guy. And I'm sort of like, oh, give me a drink and then I'll loosen me up. But this guy, like, he's suddenly just being in his presence, it's kind of wild. And I was already like laughing. And I understood why suddenly there were models, there were other women that other guys were chasing who were kind of orbiting this guy. And it was really weird. So what I discovered was this therapeutic process really works. And then when we did the fashion makeover for him, when we then applied dating skills training, he picked it up a lot faster than, because he was doing pickup boot camps for 2 years before this with several companies. It was crazy. And he never got it. But after just a few weeks of the therapeutic process and applying the therapeutic process and loving himself, and what we're going to be covering over this next 5 days, he was able to experience this incredible success. So I just want to throw that out there, Howard's story. Now, you're not Howard. I don't know who you are, really. I know some of the guys who are attending this right now. But I just want to throw that out there to encourage you that this works, and it works even on really tough cases. Okay, so one of the myths I wanted to bust by telling you that story is that many guys think that they can't learn it. I see this a lot on the internet. They think that you're either born with it or not. And if you're not born with it, there's nothing that can be done. And that's total bullshit. Hopefully you have experienced the power of learning about this area, psychology, emotional intelligence, and all of that. Hopefully you've gone through our master classes or through some of our courses, and you've experienced the power of learning some of this material and wishing, of course, like everyone who learns it, that you had been exposed to it in your formal education. I don't know what decade that's going to happen, but you've already taken that into your own hands, probably because you're watching this right now. You understand that you can actually improve in this area. You can learn it. You can master this area of your own emotions, of emotional contagion, of understanding other people's psychology, etc. And you can actually then, because that that's what attraction is. That's what relationships are. Understanding her psychology, understanding your own psychology, being able to grow your own mindsets in psychology and into love and happiness. And another big myth that a lot of people have is that it's just about serendipity. That is, in fact, that's the name of a famous rom-com, Serendipity, that the person that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, the one out of, how many people are in the world right now? 7 billion, something like that. The one person out of all the world, that it should just fall into your lap. That if you have to exert any effort, or if you have to improve yourself, or if you have to like grow to make this work, then it cheapens the whole thing. It's just supposed to be natural and effortless, and it's just supposed to fall into your lap serendipitously. And hopefully you know that that's bullshit too. That, of course, there's a lot of room for coincidence, but it's a lot less than the people who believe the serendipity myth think. You can actually, and you will have to, master certain skills in dating, and especially in relationships, that are psychological skills, if what you want is to create a successful relationship. If what you want over the long term is a successful, intimate relationship, you're really going to have to buckle down and learn how to navigate your own mind and to navigate your own psychology and to master that. Okay, just want to check in on comments here. Norbert, can 100% agree with the change on the psychological level. Awesome, Norbert. Thanks for that. And Sol from UK. Hey, what's up? Patrick in Syracuse, New York. Great to have you joining us, guys. Okay, so, right. I want to introduce you to those two myths, just point those out. And then there are 5 phases that I'll be walking us through in these 5 days. Okay, so, and part of the reason why I want to point that out right now in day 1 is because the third big mistake a lot of people make is that mismatched messaging. It's quite the tongue twister, mismatched messaging. So you might go on the internet, YouTube or whatever, and find some motivational advice or some self-help advice and think to yourself, that sounds really good. But then it doesn't really make a difference in your life. Or maybe you get self-help advice and you get the opposite reaction. You don't get motivated or encouraged, or you don't learn anything. You just kind of get angry because it's totally not like your experience of life. And part of what's happening here is it actually might be good advice, but it depends on what phase in life you're in. A lot of the self-help that you'll see on the internet and everywhere in the world, wherever, in books or whatever, is actually aimed at moving people from phase 1 to 2. If you're successful in life already, you might actually really get off on the self-help because it's just basically reinforcing what you already know. So it's a nice reminder, and it actually gives you a pat on the back because you're like, I know that, and I just got a good reminder, and I'll just keep doing that. The problem is, if you're in your 30s or 40s, you've probably reached a point where your old approaches to living have these limitations, and you're finally starting to feel those. You're finally bumping up against those limitations. And around that age is when phase 2 really starts to wear on you. And then it's not clear how to move into phase 3, because your whole life, you've been listening to the self-help gurus who've been moving you from phase 1 to 2, all of that grind and hustle and willpower and discipline and just do it type of advice. And it's great when you're starting out in life, especially if you're a teenager. But after a while, you've been grinding and hustling and working really hard for decades. And it hasn't gotten you any closer to real happiness or true love or real connection or even real presence in life. And then it's a whole other category that you've probably been ignoring. I've gone through that. And so I can speak directly to it myself. And then I've led thousands of clients online, students online, through this process of moving from a phase 2 to 3. I'm going to be getting into that in the next couple of days. But I've also experienced what it's like to just rely on hard work, discipline, just powering through all the way through my mid-30s. And it paid off. I got quite a lot of worldly success. I mean, I got all the things that I wanted personally, and I was very comfortable. The problem was I was being driven in a kind of neurotic way, which is how many people in this do it. A lot of self-help is neurotic. Moving from phase 1 to 2, relying solely on this kind of hustle and grind and hard work approach, and not ever stopping to ask the deeper questions of, so what? Of like, let's say you get all of that stuff that you want. So what? Well, many people say, well, then I'll finally be able to enjoy my life. Really? That's a nice myth. And if you're in your 20s, you probably aren't going to, or teens, you're probably not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. But if you're in your 40s and 50s, and I work with a lot of guys in their 60s now as well, you know what it's like to achieve in worldly terms everything that you thought would make you happy. And then you kind of are happy. I mean, it feels nice, pat in the back. Maybe you went out and celebrated with a steak dinner. And then the next day or the next week, you're like, well, what's the point? Like, nothing's really changed beyond my material circumstances. I'm still stuck with the same brain that I have, the same mind, the same heart and emotions, and the same social situation of in your relationship. That's not going to change just because you succeeded, unless you have a gold digger and maybe she's like not pressuring you so much. I don't know, right? But what it's not going to change is the success will not lead you directly into love. Success will not lead you to happiness or fulfillment. There are two different roads. Unfortunately, people buy the bullshit that society and your schools tell you, that if you go down the road of success and achievement, it will naturally lead into the road of love and connection and worthiness and significance. Unfortunately, it won't. Not even significance. It won't even last, because there's another competitor around the corner. You can never rest, right? And then you got this legacy that you're hoping to, maybe if you live for legacy, you hope to God that people remember your name. They're actually two completely different roads. And if you didn't know that, you're going to hit this dip on this road of achievement and you will burn out. Okay, there's a lot more to say about that. I'm going to lead you through how to make sure that you go successfully down both roads tomorrow. But first, I want to get into this mistake of mismatched messaging. That's the whole point I wanted to make. A lot of people are looking at the wrong messaging for the phase that they're in. Okay, so part of what's happening when you're in phase 1, you're stuck in phase 1. And I'm just going to get right into phase 1 right now. Phase 1 is called the novice phase. In the novice phase, you think everything that's important was taught in school. You think that merely following the steps that society or school laid out for you is going to lead you to happiness. And there are a lot of people in the world who are very bitter about this. In fact, this is one of the lines in Fight Club, right? You're fed the lie that you are significant, that if you just did what you're told to do, you'll find happiness, that you'll be somebody. And it's total bullshit. Hopefully you've understood that. A novice in phase 1 thinks that success with women is just kind of up to chance. He doesn't realize that these involve skills and mindsets that you can develop and train. All right. So he's bought into that first myth of you can't learn it. Either you have it or you don't. And he doesn't realize that you can learn it. All right. So he also lacks deeper purpose in life because he's kind of just going according to what he was given. He's just following the orders, following whatever dictates society has laid out for him. And he lacks this deeper purpose. And he hasn't unlocked his own control of his own energy or his own motivation or control of his own mind or emotions. In fact, the world is thirsting for people who are not in phase 1 and have grown out of phase 1. Unfortunately, the majority of the world is in phase 1 and they're miserable. And sometimes they don't even know they're miserable because all of their friends are miserable. So they just think it's normal. And I've met so many young men who are in this situation who end up blaming the things that are outside their own control for their situation. And that's the worst because you can't control those things. So they're looking to things outside themselves as the determining factor for their crappy state. And that puts them in this kind of hopeless victim position where it's all about woe is me and there's nothing I can do about it. Unfortunately, they're missing out. Their blind spot is there's a ton you can do about it. But because you're looking at these external factors, because you think you can't have any control over your own mind or your own fate, that you blame these other things, whether it's your government for not for having a lockdown, not lifting it, or for the vaccines or whatever it is. You're blaming other factors. Maybe you're blaming womankind for overlooking you, for not seeing your worth or something. Maybe you're blaming your boss or your colleagues for overlooking the value you have, whatever that is, right? This sort of victim narrative. Or maybe you were just feeling shitty about yourself and woe is me, life sucks and there's nothing I can do about it. Now, you're not like that already, because I know already, because you're watching this right now. But maybe you once were like that, or there are times in your life, or maybe it's 5 days a week, not every day, but many days of the week where you have these thoughts. And maybe you have friends who are stuck in the muck and mire of that victim narrative. So what phase one is all about is that lacking of purpose and drive, and not understanding that success involves skills and mindsets that you can learn, including success with women. Okay, so part of what I want to do is to motivate you to just to kind of give you some hope that that's out there, that you can learn how to master yourself. And once you master yourself, you master your life, including your interactions with women and your relationships with women and your dating situation. So I want to share this video that every time I watch it, I'm quite pumped up. Hey, Dale, good to have you on here. And Edgar, good to see you guys. Let us know where you're tuning in from whenever you tune in, including if you're watching this on replay, we get those notifications as well. And I'm just going to queue up this video I want to share with you. And my laptop currently is totally full of open windows. So I got to figure out where it is on my laptop. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, so I have to kill my video so you don't see my face going through the whole thing. And I got to make sure, actually I got to stop share. I don't think I correctly identified. Oh yeah, there you go. Share sound. There you go. Okay, I just want to share this video with you.
There I was. I was back in the airport. And so they rolled me up, they rolled me up to the terminal, and I roll up and I'm in a wheelchair, and so you know what that means? I get to skip the line. Focus on your strengths, people. And so they roll me up and they say, this is gonna be a full flight. I said, no worries. And so, they roll me down that long terminal. The plane started to fill in and, people are looking at me and then looking away. And no one wants to sit next to me. Have you ever felt like you were invisible? Have you ever felt like you weren't good enough? Look around the room. When I was a young kid, I didn't realize this whole package I had going on. I thought I was just a normal kid living life, but other people let me know that I was different. And so there was a time, I was probably in 3rd grade, and it was a hot summer day. And I remember it was hot because when I jumped off onto the field, my butt cheeks were on fire. And so, I jump out of my wheelchair, we're about to play recess, and the kids are playing kickball. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna play kickball. And I remember, here I am, every game at that age is like the World Series. So I'm freaking out, I just scored. I'm waiting for someone to pour some water on me or Gatorade. And the pitcher walks up and the catcher said something that I'll never forget. He said, how are you gonna let a cripple score on you? I'm in 3rd grade. I'm in 3rd grade. I don't even know what this word means, but I know that it's negative. I know that it had this negative connotation. And so this was my first glimpse of why me? Raise your hand if at least one time in your life you said, why me? Look around the room. It's everyone. And so for me, I'm like, I just beat you fair and square. I don't even have legs and I beat you. Like, why are you calling me these names? I don't get it. Why me? As I got into middle school and high school, I was still at this low point in my life, this victim mentality. I was still asking myself, why do I have to be born like this? Why do I have to be born with no legs and one arm? Why do the kids have to make fun of me? Why do I have to go through these challenges? So I asked myself, Nick, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to get yourself out of this hole? And so sophomore year came around and my older brother was a wrestler. All my best friends were wrestlers, and I just thought wrestlers were the coolest thing in the world. I always looked up to wrestlers, and so, I thought about it. And I came into school one day, and my friends were like, Nick, you always tell people to try new things, get out of your comfort zone. Why don't you try wrestling? And I said, I can't, my arm. And what I mean by that is this arm, let me pull this guy, it looks like a potato. We call it the potato now, it used to look like a chicken wing. And so basically, this arm was about 5 inches longer than it is now. And my bone was growing faster than my skin. If I would have hit my arm hard enough, my bone would have came through my skin. And so I was thinking of a way how I could become a wrestler. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out. And so I came home one day, I'm sure my mom remembers this very clearly. I waited for both my parents to come home, and I sat them down and I said, Mom and Dad, I want to be a wrestler. My mom was like, oh no, Nick. God forbid, you know wrestling's the most physical sport. What are you going to do if your bone comes through your skin? What are you going to do then? I looked at them and I said, can we cut it off? They said, first off, Nick, the right word is amputate. You're so aggressive with your words. I said, all right, I'll use your vocabulary. Can we amputate my arm? And, you know, my sophomore year, my parents went ahead and scheduled the appointment for me to amputate my arm. My parents didn't give me everything. They put my clothes in front of me and said, Nick, figure it out. In the most polite way. Or they put the food in front of me and they said, Nick, figure it out. I wasn't coddled. The biggest advantage I had by my parents raising me that way is my parents helped me exercise the muscle of falling on my face and getting back up. I remember how excited I went back to school. I looked at these people, I said, I'm gonna become a wrestler. And then, you know, people laughed. Nick, let's be real. Let's be real. How are you gonna become an athlete, let alone a wrestler? You have no legs and one arm. But listen, in life, we're always gonna have the outside noise, right? We're always gonna have the outside noise, the haters, the naysayers, the people that tell us that our goals are too big, that we're not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, whatever it may be. But we all have a choice. The choice is you can let the outside noise affect you or drive you. What's it gonna be? And so I looked at these people, I said, you're right. What was I thinking? I'm not gonna become a wrestler. I'm gonna become a varsity wrestler. And you're gonna watch. What are you willing to give up for your dreams? I hope it's not a limb like me, but what are those limiting beliefs that you need to let go? That you need to cut off? I had about 17 stitches in my arm, and I go back to school with this big smile. I swear I was the happiest kid that just cut his arm off. And I came off their mat after getting my butt kicked as usual. And I remember I'm there trying to catch my breath. And this lady comes up to me crying. I'm like, oh God, what did I do wrong? She gets down on my level. She said, Nick, I want to thank you. I said, for what? Did you see that performance? She said, it's much more than that. She said, my daughter's over there on the sideline, and she never wanted to do a sport. She never wanted to do an extracurricular activity, but seeing you out there, she wants to try all these things. You not only motivated her, you not only inspired her, but you shifted her perspective. And that's when I realized, like, oh my God, not only does this feel good that I'm helping people, but I was on the mat for myself. I was being selfish. I was trying to dig myself out of a hole. I wasn't trying to motivate and be inspiring Nick. I was just trying to dig myself out of a hole. But I realized that the impact was much more than me. And I also realized that all the things that I thought were disgusting about me, all the things that I thought were negative about me, the disempowering things, turned out to be my biggest empowerments and my biggest influences. Where would I be if every single time someone said, you can't do that, I was like, you're right, and I bowed down? Where would you be if every single time someone told you you can't do something, you listened to them? That's probably the same thing in your life. The things that you don't like about yourself, the things that you nitpick about yourself are probably the things that make you you. Your authentic you. That's how you're going to stand out in your personal life. That's how you're going to stand out in your business life, by being your authentic you. And so I realized not only is my situation kind of like a superpower, but this was fulfilling, helping other people. This phrase that I kind of frame my whole life on is, it's not can't, but how. I can't do this because I'm not tall enough. I can't do this because I don't have the resources. I can't do this because I'm not old enough. Whatever it may be, we all have these limiting beliefs, right? I may not have legs, but I'm here to make a massive footprint in this world before I leave. Because the one thing I've realized, and I'm saying this as a brother, is no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. The only person that's going to make a drastic change in your life, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the only person that is going to dig you out of your hole is who? You. It is emotionally impossible for you to feel grateful and sad at the same time. Grateful and angry, whatever it may be, the emotion of gratitude literally outweighs all the negative emotions. Starting your day off with gratitude is starting your day off on the right foot. And so, you know, when I was sitting on that plane, and everyone started to fill in, and no one wanted to sit next to me, I started looking at the window and I was crying. was trying not to let these other people know I was crying, and I was going through my head. I said, Nick, what would you tell the kids? What would you tell the adults? Practice what you preach. What would you tell them? And I said, it's the meaning I attach behind this. I could become the victim of the situation, or I could become the victor of the situation. What's it going to be? And so finally, two gentlemen had to sit down, and I'm thinking. I finally realized it's the power of reframing. I said, I can sit here and cry all the way home. I can let this affect my day, my week, my month. Or Nick can celebrate the fact that he has the most legroom in this plane. In the snap of a finger, I took a situation that was disempowering, where Nick was literally crying on a plane. And I turned it into an empowering situation where I'm sitting here cracking up. I'm like, you guys pay a lot of money for this. It's all about the meaning you attach behind things. And the reason why it's so near, dear in my heart, it saved my life. I love this quote by Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela says, I don't lose. I only win or learn. In life, there's only winning or learning. And once you realize that all your problems become gifts once you learn from them. You know, we think all these things are bad, but in the grand scheme of life, they teach us something. Back to my one finger, there's always one thing that you can pull out of any negative situation, whether that is a different perspective, a different piece of knowledge, a different way to go about life, a different sense of gratitude. Whatever it may be, there's always one piece of good information that you can take from a loss and extract that good and turn it into a W. That's all I wanted people to see, because in life all deals us a deck of cards, right? You may think your deck of cards is amazing. You may think your deck of cards is mediocre. You may think your deck of cards is very bad. But it's our duty to play that hand to the best of our ability. If you agree, say yes. We have to play the hand we gave us to the best of our ability. We got to focus on the things we do have. You have to focus on your strengths, the things you do love about yourself, because I promise you, when you focus on your strengths and the things you do love about yourself, it'll always outweigh all those negative things.
The most attractive thing you could be is different.
All right. Awesome. So how was that for you? I want to hear what you took away from that. Did you pick up anything that helped change your perspective? Let me put some background music here as we're, okay. So I have about a 13-second lag between when I say something and it actually goes through to Facebook. So I'm going to have to wait a bit. And I just want to hear from you. What did you think of what he shared there? His particular circumstances and watching and listening to, hearing about his view of life and how to play the hand that you're dealt, the best ways of looking at it. It's what you make of it. How did that land for you? I'd love to hear how that was for you. What did you pick up from watching that video there? Patrick, the power of reframing. Exactly. It's a great way to put it. The power of reframing is how he put it. That's awesome. We're going to be getting into that just really briefly. Actually, it's the next slide. It's power of interpretation, power of getting power over your emotions. Power of your emotions is if you understand the interpretation of it. Yes. How about the rest of you? Anyone else? How was that for you? Actually, in the interest of time, I'm just going to keep plowing here, but I just want to, Facebook's done this thing where the comments on my phone disappear after, like, looks like 5 seconds. So I have to keep tapping this. So I will continue to tap this to make sure I get all of your comments. And let me just reduce this volume on this. Or shall I just turn it off here? Oh, whoops. I have music, but you can't hear my music. I just realized after all of that practicing, I forgot to share the computer audio. Oh, well, the moment has passed. Great. So we're going to move on just in the interest of time, but please continue to share. Oh, Norbert, reinterpreting your emotions and also self-acceptance. Excellent. Precisely. Ronnie, so amazing. You said, awesome. I'm glad you found that inspiring. And I find it incredibly inspiring. Obviously, I do. I'm sharing it with you. I do realize that there are some people who maybe they're so stuck in their pain of their kind of hopelessness and their kind of victim mindset of maybe that's good for him or good for him, but it's not really me. And what can I do? I mean, I have all 4 of my limbs and I'm in a much worse position than him. Boo-hoo. And if that's you, then what I'm about to share is something you're really going to have to pay attention to, because this is super important for your life. And here we go. Is there a comment there? Okay, so let's do a view, enter full screen, and we hit play. There we go. Okay, so we left off here with the skill achievement graph of the plateaus and breakthroughs. And here is the standard interpretation or standard understanding or definition of what an emotion is. An emotion is composed of two components. The first is what's called phenomenology, or another way to put it is feltness. And this is normally what's referred to as feelings. So feelings are just the sort of the physical sensations. So when people work out, when you work out, you lift some muscle and stuff, that burning sensation is the feltness, or the actual sensation of it. And then the other half of the emotion is your interpretation of it. What does it mean? So those who really enjoy working out or have come to enjoy working out interpret that as a good thing. And so they, in their mind, it's a good feeling. For those who say, blah, I don't like working out, then that feeling is a discomfort. It's an uncomfortable feeling that they want to minimize as much as possible. So they're not going to get any results. And they feel completely different emotions out of the same physical sensations. Another example is, let's say you have a snake slithering towards you. For most of us, the emotion would be fear, because our interpretation is danger. You know, this, maybe it's a poisonous snake, or just snakes are kind of icky and kind of gross anyway. So we're just like, versus somebody who's like, oh, it's my pet snake, Bob, and sticks out his arm, and the snake slithers up his arm, and he's petting the snake because it's his pet snake. So it's a totally different interpretation of exactly the same external conditions and the same phenomenology. The emotion ends up becoming different, resulting in a different feeling, one of fear, one of joy, because it's different interpretation. So you'll notice here in the equation, E equals pH plus I, phenomenology plus interpretation. The thing under your control, well, in fact, they're both under your control, phenomenology and interpretation. And today, actually, we're not going to ask you to do both, but starting tomorrow, you'll get a feel for how to also manipulate the phenomenology so that you can really take hyper control or more extra control over your emotion. But the easier one, especially for intellectual types like myself, is the interpretation of it. And what reframing does is, oh, what's happened to the graph? Is the graph changed? What's happening here? I'm seeing a video that's stuck. Are you guys also seeing this? Oh, sorry. Are you guys still looking at the skill achievement graph? Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is what I was on. And then I hit play. And then what happens over here? I've been talking all this time, and has anyone said I'm on the wrong thing here? So this was the blue slide that I was hoping everyone was going to see. Well, there you go. So you're looking at the wrong thing. Sorry about that. I was saying that emotion equals phenomenology plus interpretation. Again, there's this delay, so it's hard to tell what's actually happening here. E equals pH plus I. Okay, is it changing? It's still on, I can't even tell. Sorry about this. This is a, oh, I have no idea why you see the menu on the left. Anyway, screw it. I'm just going to roll with it. So E equals pH plus I. Hopefully you can see that. And what we're changing is the interpretation of it. Okay, so enough said. I forgot where I was at that point. So let's just keep going here. And I will do a stop share on that. Okay. And I don't know where that went. But anyway, that's keynote. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is be moving into how the thing that you have control over as it's more of an intellectual type is your interpretation of it. So it's like the reframing of it is the reframing the interpretation. So when you are able to understand the interpretation that you've attached to the emotion, then you realize that you can change the interpretation. And one of the easiest things to change is just the choice of what it means. You can choose what this event or this thing that happened means. The meaning of this event is actually separate from the actual event. The event is simply the physical molecules and their configuration. The emotion we feel as a result of the physical molecules is different from the feeling. So I might have the physical molecules of a knife, that goes through your flesh. And there's going to be feeling there as your nerves are getting into this kind of painful sensation. Now, sometimes it's a good thing because, like, where we go, maybe you want to get maybe you want to get the vaccine. And as they're putting it through, you've been waiting a long time. And finally, you're getting it. And you're like, yeah, but it's a painful thing, right? So maybe I just picked a bad example there. But you notice that that phenomenology is a manipulation of physical molecules. You're going to feel something. You feel a jab. Your interpretation of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing will determine what emotion comes out of it. You can actually choose the interpretation that you attach to anything. The molecules themselves are devoid of meaning. We give them meaning. And the key to being able to transform your life and the way that you experience your life, even despite not being able to change the external circumstances, is the interpretation of it. So I'm going to lead you through a very gentle meditation that is about choice. And it's really simple, just really easy and gentle. All you got to do is follow along. For this one, I highly recommend you get earphones, headphones, and if you are operating heavy machinery like a car, I highly recommend that you pull over, okay, so that you can take the time to close your eyes or sort of stare off into space and just put the headphones on and relax and let things go as we get into this very gentle meditation, which is a kind of warm up for your unconscious mind, so that we're going to do a little narrative therapy afterwards and hit it even harder, and then we'll end. Okay, so we're coming to the end now, and it's really important that you actually pay attention to this meditation, but it's really gentle, really pleasant, and is intended to lead you to that deeper level of understanding of this whole emotions formula and being able to take power over your choices. Okay, just got to cue up the background track here and share sound. Okay, so here we go. This is adapted from Sarah Blondin. In retrospect, we see clearly what the journey of life is, as if we were looking back through a clear glass. In retrospect, you will understand that your entire life was but choices made one after another for the sake of love or preserving that love. Nothing will be irredeemably wrong or broken, just choices made either way for the sake of your heart. Perched above your experience, you will one day see each of your days woven together like a tapestry of missteps, hurtful choices, longing joy, heartbreak and redemption, love and the denial of that same love. You will see it all as collected choices, and through those choices, a melody will be woven, both sweet and achingly bittersweet. Each time you choose something, as you will, that causes your heart to break in longing, in seeming disrepair, each time you make a choice you think took you farther from the love you long for, think again, dear friend. For each step, each movement and action will come together to create the beautiful paradox that is life. We compound our suffering by looking too closely at the thing that is causing us pain. We forget that soon a revelation will come from this very same place, that these painful spots and choices are often where growth comes to break us open to something larger, something more loving, more purposeful in being. If you have lost hope, if you feel you have landed yourself in a landscape of ravaged earth and drought, where you're sure your heart has left your chest, please just rest and hush now. You have only to try again. Just choose again. Choose anything but remaining complacent in your pain. Choose anything other than running from your present and yourself. When we escape ourselves, it is because we feel too ashamed, too broken to look into our own eyes, too disappointed in the unraveling of all our well-laid plans. We are so afraid of the thunder and lightning clapping at our heels that we keep running from ourselves, when really the storm has come to wash us clean, come to quell the drought, to feed our earth. If you have been avoiding quiet moments, these intimate moments with yourself, you are avoiding the gift of life that is seeking to feed you. You will find yourself and your heart again if you choose to turn toward yourself, to land on your seat with your heart laid open. Simply arrive and stop the running. Watch each of your choices be still and calm, and allow your heart to take residence within you once more. Choose again. That's all your life needs then. One step forward, one choice, one after another, not one wrong, not one that is not in service of you. And keeping your eyes closed now, lovingly arrive at your own feet. Let your worries, your sorrow, your heartache, your dread, your shame, your loving, spread out before you like a beautiful quilt that weaves into a blanket of warmth and love and balance. Nothing you have chosen is wrong. Nothing you have chosen does not fit into the fabric of your life. Be still now here at your own mercy. You are in the process of writing a symphony of divine compassion and love. You are learning. In all of your choosing, you are learning. You are remembering what you are. Please hear me when I say, there are no stains on the quilt of your life. If you choose one next thing, choose to arrive here like you have now, to give love to each part of you grown distant from your center. This is the place that will create movement and momentum in the direction of your heart. Arriving here often will help you choose more of what will bring you joy, will help you love your journey. Breathe in and breathe out. Be washed clean of your worry. It's time to remember, dear one. You are born to feel all of this. Let go for one moment longer. Waste no more of your time worrying that something has gone wrong. For in retrospect, my friend, you will see through a clear glass the pieces that came together to make your heart beat stronger than it could the breath before. It's time to remember, dear one, that life is in your favor, that you are in your favor. Hush now. Just choose again. Okay, all right. So how was that for you? I'm going to share some music and do it correctly this time. As I wait for how that landed for you, I'd love to get your thoughts and feelings from that. How was that for you? It was a short, sweet experience. Just want to make sure that I'm waiting the 13 seconds or so for that to come in. How did that land for you? So this was part of the choice is yours, the power is yours. And there is something within you that knows the deeper truth of who you are. How did that land for you? I'm just going to wait a little bit here as you take the time to type that in there and let that settle in. And if you're watching this on replay, you can also type the comments in. I'll still be getting those as they come in. How was that for you? Or maybe, did you fall asleep? Oh, Soul Mari wrote, call me. Thumbs up. Awesome. Good. So as this background music continues to play, let's see if I can bring up the slides. I still haven't solved the issue with the slides. That's something I'm going to have to do after this. Okay. Are you able to see the slides? I can't tell. Okay, yes, it looks like it. And if I hit play, does it move? Does it advance? Okay, I don't know with that if it did or not, but I'm still waiting. If you have any other thoughts or feelings as a result of that meditation, or if you're watching this on replay, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll still go and see them. Oh, Soul says can see them. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the music here. And I got, oh, there's an issue here. I forgot to start over with the shares. Stop the music. Okay, so now what I wanted to share earlier is this diagram here. And am I sharing it? Yes, okay. It's a diagram here of how most people think success is supposed to work, where it's a steady, consistent, linear path to the goal. And it's incremental growth and really consistent and steady, and there's never any uncertainty. The reality is a lot more like this underneath here. And you notice that we had this black and white plateau graph here, skill achievement graph. And now we get lots of colorful illustrations of some of the just like metaphors or analogous ways of thinking about the kind of obstacles you'll face. And notice that at each dip, it's a different obstacle now that they have to overcome. Oh, you can see my cursor. Oh, wonderful. I can use it as a pointer. Didn't realize that. So you'll see that this getting out of this, what is it, a pile of boulders or something, is going to be different from trying to figure out how to traverse this snowstorm with a cable car. And then you have a new challenge at each phase. Now you're in shark infested waters. There's a new challenge that requires new resources and new ways of thinking. And that is the nature of these phases. At each phase, it's completely different. It's like going from one dimension to two dimensions. So if you exist as a dot, and then imagine then trying to understand what it's like to be a straight line, and then living as a straight line and trying to imagine what it's like to be, well, I guess the 2 dimensions would be like a, well, you have 2 dimensions. So it could be a box, but then to be imagining a cube in 3 dimensions, how is that going to be? How can you imagine that? And so you might be able to imagine it conceptually, but the experience of it will be completely different. Norbert wrote that graph is so funny, but so true. So yeah, so this is this is the growth reality. And in fact, to make it even more realistic, you'd want, oh, actually here, the dip here apparently of this water is lower than the one before. So experientially, it'll feel like each challenge is a deeper hell. But when you come out of that even deeper hell, you get to even greater heights of a heaven, so to speak. The rewards are even greater. And that's just reality. And each of these caves are going to be darker and going to be longer and more challenging. And that's just the nature of growth. But without it, you won't have any lasting happiness. Most people just want this top graph. And if you just keep thinking life is going to be like this, you're going to be continually disappointed and you won't succeed in life. You're going to have to embrace the reality of this. And that's why we went through this meditation, that the choice is yours. Fortunately now, because I can't blow this up, I'm not sure what. Okay, I'm gonna figure that out. You see the fields that I've not filled out there. Okay, so we're gonna move now into a narrative therapy to help you take hold of your choice, that you get to decide how the story of your life goes and the direction of your life and the meaning of things. So moving back here, it's very easy for you. So the kid's on a bike, somehow will end up in this pile of rocks and all he sees are trees up there. It looks bleak. It looks like it's not worth it. Why bother? So he then struggles to take his bike back up this hill and then goes home. And that's it. He's like, there's a moat of rocks. Why bother? And doesn't go anywhere. And the thing is, the choice is yours about what that pile of rocks means, that dip there. That it could be, this is the dead end. This is it, because you don't know what else is beyond this. You might think that's the border of your whole world. And it's ringed around by a moat of rocks. And then it's just interminable, nasty forest beyond it. That's it. And you might just give up and never grow. And then you'll find that there are men in their 50s and 60s who've never actually grown much psychologically and emotionally. And therefore, in terms of their dating lives and their relationships, have stagnant dating lives and relationships, or passionless ones. And then they pass that on to their children if they ever have any. That's a kind of sucky reality. There's another interpretation of that pile of rocks, which is that this is the first of many challenges that will lead to greater and greater heights of growth, fulfillment, love, connection, joy, etc. And then you just traverse this and it's worth it. And it takes the same amount of energy actually to climb back up this mountain as it is to somehow get up the other side. But you can apply that to get to the other side and then experience this forest and then find yet another challenge. But it's about framing that for yourself, your interpretation of that and the meaning you give it. And that's about the story. At which point in the story are you? And what story are you actually in? Okay, so I'm now I hope that this can play because I have these actions set up. Let's see. Anyway, I'm just going to keep reading through these. The first is there are 7 elements of narrative. Doesn't look like it is. Anyway, you see it all at once apparently because I can't figure out. Let me see if I can do this. Like that. Okay, play. Is it working now? Okay, so the first element is, oh no, sharing is pause. Bring your window to the front. Okay, so that did not work. Let me do one more time. I just want you to see this because there are quite a lot of words here. So I think it's important that you see it. Oh, it's been closed. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to reopen that file. Okay, there it is. Okay, let's see, here we go. There we go, share. Okay. Oh, sharing is paused again. Sorry about that. View, enter full screen, and then hit play. Okay, hopefully this works. Sorry about that delay. The first element is there's a main character, and the main character is driven by desire for greater purpose or meaning. And the second of the elements of narrative is that there's a main problem. and it's a need the character is not fulfilling. And to be fulfilled, the character must develop mindset, skills, or knowledge to meet the need in the long term, to make it lasting. Then what happens is the actual story. The character confronts the opponents, which could be external, intimate, or internal. The bigger the opponent, the bigger the hero. And number 4, the character develops a plan to deal with the opponent. Then number 5, the character confronts his or her own mortality and searches for meaning through this battle. Then number 6, the character experiences self-elevation and fulfillment of his desire and need. The self-revelation can be in the form of new perspectives, a new character trait or traits, and new values. For example, a deeper level of courage or strength or determination or honesty. And finally, the character develops and then integrates these new mindsets, values, character traits, or skills, and his life returns to balance, and the character's deeper need is fulfilled. Okay, so this is just priming you for the elements of narrative. And I'll be leading you now through a guided meditative exercise that will prompt you. It's pretty short, so you're going to have to pay attention. This is also one that will involve more of your imagination. So this is one that you'll need to get involved with, engaged with, and focused on. So if you're driving or anything like that, I highly recommend that you pull over for this one. And I highly recommend that you use earphones. I'm going to need to put these on to calibrate the volume. And it will walk you through these elements of what's called the narrative therapy and help you to discover for yourself how you can take power over the interpretation that leads to your emotions and your emotional life, and the broader overarching narrative of your entire life, which will lead to taking power over your life overall. Okay, so this is a really powerful meditation, and this guided exercise will lead into the challenge for today. Okay, so I'm going to cue this one up as well. So you get the, all right, so you get the cool video in the background. And here we go. Just get your earphones on or headphones and pull over and just pay attention, play full out for this one. And then we'll wrap things up. Now, in my research over the years, I've come across some profound case studies, and there was one in particular that really stood out. It was shared by a psychologist, and he had 2 clients. And these 2 clients, they didn't know each other, of course, but they experienced almost the same thing. Their stories were very similar, except for one thing: the meaning the clients gave them, the story that they told to themselves about what happened to them. So they were both active military men who didn't know each other, of course, and they both had a similar experience. They both lost their best friend in war, and they saw the death happen right in front of them. So imagine the trauma, right? They were slightly different. One of them, his best friend, was shot in the head by a sniper, and literally the guy's brains splattered out all over the side of his body, and part of it covered his visor, and that was his best friend. And the other one, his best friend, was about 10 meters ahead, and the friend stepped on a landmine, and it blew him into a million pieces, and his body parts flew up and went all over the place. So either way, you can imagine how traumatic an experience this would be for anyone. But here was the major difference between them. In reflecting on what this meant for their lives, both men witnessed the brutal death of their best friend. One of the men said that what he got from this, the story that he told himself about this event, was that man's cruelty to man is unfathomable, and that you can never get too close to people because they're just going to die and hurt you. So be your own person and don't ever be hurt by anyone, and don't get too attached to anyone. So with that story, I bet you could predict what emotions he said he experienced on a regular basis. What emotions would you have if you believed life is short, life's a bitch, don't get close to anybody, man's cruelty to man is unfathomable, you're just going to get hurt? What kind of emotions do you think a man like that would have if he told this story to himself? Loneliness, sadness, hurt, anger, fear, like an unconscious anxiety about what could happen to him? And with the other man, when I read it, I expected to see the same thing because their cases were so similar. But what was different was the decision he made back then, the story he told himself about that event back then. His story was that he decided that what he got from it was life is short and every moment should be spent in appreciation for those you love. Because you never know when you're going to go. So we want to make sure we're connected and loving and fully alive and thankful for every day we have, every moment we have. Same event, different decisions about what it meant, different stories or narratives that they told themselves about what that meant. What feelings would you have if you believed life was short, every moment must be lived most fully, want to be connected to everyone? What emotions would that person feel regularly just by that decision made decades ago? What would they have to feel if they had that story? Tell me. Love, gratitude, connection, joy, caring, grace? It's never the events. It's the story you tell yourself about what the events mean. Now we've gone through so much already together. And for this one, you don't need to make any effort on. You can just stay in your chair. Whatever you've got on your lap, any notebooks, put them aside. And this is going to be a closed eye process. So take a deep breath in and exhale. When you demand significance, you're left empty. And so is the person you're with. The more you tell yourself you're not significant because you don't have the position, or you don't have the love, or you don't have the whatever, the more you suffer. When you suffer, you beget some more suffering. But one day, because you consistently grew and gave and loved, you experience significance right where you thought it didn't exist. Significance comes from love and contribution. Significance comes from growing and giving. It's the only lasting significance. Everything else is a game. So his story that would have been a warning became an example. And every great book, including the Bible, is filled with stories that teach us. And every story is either a warning or an example. You and I get to decide which one our life is going to be, a warning or an example. And even if it's been a warning for years or decades, you can become an example how fast. Just like that. All it takes is a shift in your model of the world, which is a simple way of saying a change in your beliefs or the needs that you value most, or more importantly, the emotions that dominate your life. And because you've let these emotions like fear or worry or feeling not enough or insecure dominate, it would make you pursue significance. But if you could stop thinking about yourself, you could stop suffering. If you could obsess about giving and loving and growing, that significance you want so badly would be there so easily. Many want you to already, but they can't let you lead if you can't lead yourself yet. That could change very quickly. And the story becomes a beautiful one, doesn't it? Out of misguidedness, beauty can come the minute you find the truth. And the truth is, it can't be about you if you want a beautiful story. And the minute you disappear, ironically, you appear, the real you. So the question becomes, if you're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer of the story of your life, which you are, what's it going to be? What has it been? What has the story of your life been? What's been the theme? Victim or victor? Joker or king? Knight? What role have you played primarily in the stories of your life? If you're honest, what's the theme that shows up? If you could be totally honest. Is it one that's empowering? Is it one that's ego-driven? Is it one that brings you closer or further away? Does it create inner conflict or inner peace? Maybe it's time to write a new story now. One that has a new rhythm, a new pace, a new feeling. Has your story been a drama, a horror story, a romantic comedy, an adventure, an action picture, an epic? What has your story been? What's been the story of your life? if you had to generalize as a metaphor? A frog that became a prince who became a frog. Someone who's abused, someone who was a seeker, someone who found the answer, someone who failed to find the answers. A lover or a loser? What has your story been about, if you're honest? Many stories have a theme. The beautiful thing is you're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer, and you are. You can make it anything you want. Horror or comedy, romance or adventure, drama, epic, or some combination of the best of what you love. To do it, you have to come up with 3 new emotions. They don't even have to be new, but they have to become the dominant emotions of your life. If I asked you, the old story of my life is about a person who what? Who wanted what? Who decided what? Who struggled with what? Who felt what? If you had to finish the sentence, my old story was about a person who what? Desired what? Wanted what? Who faced or challenged or dealt with what challenge? Who experienced and felt what primary emotions? And you had to pick the primary emotions you had experienced. Which ones eluded you? What was the story about? What role did you play? What archetype? The joker, the prince, the king, the businessman, the seeker, the lover, the loser, the fool, the passionate one. What role did you play in the old story? What was the story about? Who were the opponents? What did you struggle with? What did you fail to experience? What emotions dominated you in the old story? And then if we were to write a new story today, the story you now desire and deserve, what kind of story would it be? An adventure? A love story? A romance? An epic? An action? All of the above? What role would you play? The frog who became the prince? The child who became the governor? The knight who became the king? Someone who found the king alive inside himself or herself? The person who took over and changed the kingdom? The person who fell in love? The person who laughed more? The person who was grateful? The person who was expecting? If your whole life was going to change, all it would take is 2 or 3 virtuous emotions. Virtuous emotions are emotions that are not suffering. Virtuous emotions, by their nature, are beautiful states. Virtuous emotions, when you're in them, you do the right thing automatically. What are universally respected emotions? Those are virtues. They're respected in every culture. What are they? Love, passion, boldness, truth, honesty, freedom, discipline, creativity, gratitude, honor, playfulness, and the list goes on. Because in all those states, there is no suffering. And in all those states, the story of life changes forever, if they are dominant, not just once in a while. And what are the vice states? Vice states are not immoral. They're just states that are not appreciated in every culture. They're states of suffering, frustration, loneliness, anger, depression, overwhelm, stress, guilt, greed, fear, rage. They're all states of suffering, and because when you're in those states, you'll do the wrong thing to yourself and others. We all experience them. The question is, what are the dominant emotions in your life? If you were to write, direct, and produce the story of your life from this day forward, how would you describe the new story? What was life about in the old story? Yourself? Your desires? Your challenges you faced? What role did you play in the old story? What was life about in the old story? What were the biggest problems in the old story? What were the emotions that you felt in the old story? What could that old story character never experience in the long term? What could they never have, if you're honest? And if you were going to change the entire story of your life today, what would you change it to? A story about a person who desired most what? A person who pursued what? What kind of role would you play in that story? Would it be a love story? Would it be an adventure? Would it be an action? Would it be an epic? Would it be a comedy? What would it be about? And who would that person become in that story? What emotions would dominate in your life if your life were to become the story you want it to be? What three emotions, if you made them dominant, if you lived them every day, they would destroy your limitations? What will destroy fear? Is it courage? Is it boldness? Is it passion? Is it conviction? Is it determination? All of those are beautiful states of being, aren't they? Is it playfulness? Is it love? Is it caring? What do you desire from this moment forward your story to become? What are you committed to your story becoming? It's about a new story. It's about a person going from what to what, who dealt with what and broke through and created what. The new story is about the person who conquered what, broke through what. What do they leave behind so they're no longer enslaved? And what did they reclaim as their birthright? If that were you, what would be three emotions daily that would virtually guarantee the unfolding of a new story? What's the deepest desire in the new story? What's life about? What do you enjoy in the new story? What are you grateful for? What do you celebrate in the new story? Who do you become in the new story? Who is served in the new story? And what three power virtues or power emotions or virtuous emotions dominate the life of that person who could create that kind of story and make it real? It's all a choice. You're either unconscious and let the environment or let our culture, we let the people in our past, whom we love, shape our story, or we become the writer, the director, the producer, and we take back the gift that our Creator has given us. The one thing our Creator has given us that every religion agrees is choice. Every religion, some will kill each other over the name of God, but they will all believe in the F word. Faith that with some new choices, life will never be the same again. This is your time. Write it down. My old story was about a person who desired what, hungered for what, wanted what, but felt what feelings inside. Where did they fall short? What did they not experience? What was missing? What were they needing? Courage? Faith? Love? Playfulness? More self-honesty? Passion? Boldness? What was missing for them? And what did they struggle with? And then what's the theme of that person? What role did they play? Who did they attract? Who were their opponents? And then you're going to switch and write, the new story of my life will be the story of what? About a person or family that did what? That created what? That enjoyed what? That lived what? That made what happen? This person's life was about what? What do they feel every day of their lives? What do they give? Who do they become? Who did they become? What did they enjoy? What did they break through? And what three emotions become dominant to make all of that possible. You've got 15 minutes to change your whole frickin' life. Pull up the worksheet or the slides and start writing. Get out your writing utensils and start writing. Keep the music playing, so listen to a song you like, or keep this music playing and go ahead. All right. Okay, so here we go. How was that for you? How was that for you? I'm going to put the music on to help you as you write. And let's see, here we go. We're going to share audio. Okay. Turn this up a bit. Facebook has switched up all the volume levels from when we tested. So everything's like quieter than it was supposed to be. Okay, sorry about that. Here we get some sound. Okay, great. There is a 13-second roughly lag between when I say something and when it shows up here. So we got that little buffer time. Let me know how that was for you. How did that land for you? And maybe we can move right into the exercise. So let's do that. While this music's still playing, I will also share the slides. So here we go. Oops. Okay. So let's see, can you see the slides? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. When I hit play, oh, nope, that didn't work. Okay. Do full screen. Okay, how's that? Okay, so we got the 7 elements of narrative. And what you're gonna do next is we're gonna do the work on the narrative of your life, and this is the challenge for today. And let me see how that landed for you guys. Go ahead and type that in the comments here as I explain the 3 questions that are going to be in the action sheet. And the first question is, what was the old narrative of your life? It sounds a little loud to me. Oops, can't see. Okay. All of our leveling work is all for naught now. Okay, let me know how that landed for you, by the way, in the comments. I'm going with the 3 questions. The first is, what was the old story? What was the old story of your life? And you're going to write that into the fillable PDF that you can download from our group. I'm going to post it straight into the challenge group. Second question is, what will the new story of your life be? What will your new narrative be? A tragedy that now becomes a comedy, a romance or an adventure, an epic, a horror picture, a love story, or an action tale? And then the third question is, what emotions will you use as fuel to create that new narrative now? The emotions, I gave some examples there: appreciation, determination, joy, trust, compassion, courage. Whatever it is for you, you're prompted to those during the meditative exercise, and choose at least 3 emotions that, if they were to become dominant in you, would transform your entire life and make it even more extraordinary and make this narrative happen for you. So in this new narrative, what emotions would be dominant in your life? Okay, so those are the 3 questions. If you need them again, they're in the action sheet. So you can download the action sheet from, let me make sure that the music's still going there, from the group and from the concierge page. We've got that up there on the concierge page. We'll go ahead and share. I don't know if anybody's sharing. I can't see any comments. But let me know how that was for you. Good to see you, Zach, Robert, Stephen, good to have you guys join us. Merja, good to see you here. Let us know how that meditation was for you. What was your new story? What's your old story? What's your new story? What are the 3 virtuous emotions that are going to be required to dominate your life for you to live that new narrative? Getting clarity on all of that is essential for moving forward and for understanding how to make sense of the dips and the inevitable plateaus, so that you can see that it's just one piece of the tapestry of your life, and that will change your whole experience of your life. Okay, so that is the challenge for day 1. Okay, so as I presented that, I'm going to wrap it up now for that challenge. Okay, so the challenge itself is to go live and share the old story of your life and then the new story. share the old story and the new story. So you'll have that in your action sheet if you've done it. So just download it from the group. You can also download it from the concierge page, and it's a fillable PDF. And then for the action step, it's in there as well on the action sheet. The action step is to share your old story and to share the new story of your life. You can also share which 3 emotions will dominate your life in the new narrative. So all you do is go live and share the old story, the new story, and the 3 emotions that will be dominant in your life, the virtuous emotions, the power emotions. Okay, so now we have come to the end of today. We've covered phase 1 novice, what that is all about. And tomorrow I'll be getting into how to move into phase 2, which is all about power, accessing your power and achieving success and accessing that innate drive that's within you to create the purpose of your life, to live out the purpose of your life. Okay, but before I do that, before I tell you more about tomorrow, I am going to announce the winners for day 1. The winners. So I get some music for that. Okay, so I think it's about there. Okay, so let's share the music. Boom. Okay, can you hear that? I think you can, right? All right, the winners for day 1. I want to do a shout out to the Platinum Partners, first of all, who've been participating in the challenge. You guys are awesome. Of course, I have no courses to offer you because you have access to everything, but I really appreciate you participating in this challenge a lot. So thanks for you guys' presence. And the winners for today, for day 1, the 2 winners of day 1. Here we go. Ready? Drum roll. Joel Smith, the first winner for day 1. Congratulations. You are the winner of the grant. Oh, I'm going to announce the prize after I announce the second winner. And the second winner is Julian Handler. Julian Handler, congratulations. You both win a free month of the Legendary Coaching Group, The Legendary Coaching Group is our weekly live coaching group, and it features over, I think we got more than 200 members in it right now, and it features 5 big bonus courses that are opened up for you each month. And you can learn more about what the Legendary Coaching Group is from our main website. I'll also tell you more about it later in this challenge if you're interested. But Joel Smith and Julian Handler, you guys get free 1-month access to the Legendary Coaching Group. I look forward to seeing you guys in there and interacting with you there and continuing your journey there. So write to support@oradating.com. Write to support@oradating.com to claim your prize. And congratulations to you. Congratulations. Okay, so tomorrow we will be moving into day 2. Obviously, it's day 2 tomorrow. And we'll be moving into phase 2 night and getting clear on what that is, moving into that power of phase 2. And I'll be breaking down for you how to graduate from phase 1. And I've been describing in detail what phase 1 is all about and helping you already softening the ground, preparing the soil for what we'll be covering tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to go even deeper. It's going to take it up a notch big time. And I look forward to leading you through that. Thanks so much, guys, for being on for today, for day 1. Merja, Zach, Robert, Patrick, great to see you guys in Seoul. And Norbert, great to have your engagement. Thanks so much. And Ronnie, thank you for your engagement. Edgar and Dale, great to see you guys. And by the way, all the guys in the group, we see you all. If you're live videos, we will be awarding more prizes throughout the week. So tomorrow we're going to be opening up more prizes like Core or Conversation Vortex, Perfect Day System, and so on. And those will all be announced as we continue through the challenge. So congratulations to Joel and Julian, our first winners of the day 1 challenge, and a shout out to all the plats who are participating. Now, the next thing to do is go to the concierge page, download the action sheet, and then do the action step and go live with your live video to do the action step. Okay, so that is the next thing to do. All right, so as we're wrapping up here, we'll see you all tomorrow for day 2. We're going to take it up a notch, and we're going to tap into your innate power for success and for your innate drive to get shit done and to crush it in life. All right, and then we'll get into the next 4 phases in our 5 phases of breakthroughs. So I'll see you tomorrow. Great job today. Great job, guys, playing full out. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, David Tian signing out. And by the way, get that action sheet. I look forward to seeing your action challenges inside the group. Until then, Dave Tian signing out. Breakthrough!